Good evening and morning, everyone. Welcome to VizConnect, connecting people with data visualization and storytelling. Today, we have a special guest at VizConnect. He is a Tableau Zen master and a white hat hacker of Tableau server. So, welcome, Tamas Foldi. Tamas breaks Tab. So, just to talk about Tamas breaks Tableau server so you don't have to. His extensive knowledge of Tableau server and its APIs allow him to manipulate Tableau like no other person. Fortunately, he uses these skills to build and share incredible tips for the server admin community. He strives to help customers and advises the Tableau development team on ways in which we can improve our products. So the fun fact about Tamas is that Tamas' first job was an ethical hacker. That's where his governance and security knowledge comes from. While he left the field more than a field ago, he still performs penetration test gigs once per year, just for the fun. So without further ado, Tamas, over to you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Sagar, for the introduction. Let me start sharing my screen and talk about the new data catalog features of Tableau because I think it's really something which will change our lives. So, before I jump into the Tableau catalog, just really introduce myself. I'm working as a consultant, actually a CTO in a relatively small company. We have 200 people, mostly in the US where I'm located, and in Hungary. I just moved recently to US from Budapest, Hungary, a year ago, so I'm still learning everything. And on the same time, it's morning here, so that's my voice is a little bit, sound crazy. It's because I just wake up a few minutes ago. Uh, I'm I'm the only Zen master who really focusing on the developer APIs and the servers, and at the same time I'm the one who are making the ugliest Tableau dashboards along all the Tableau Zen masters. I don't really have a sense of beauty, so today that's why I will talk about server things and not about how can you create great visualizations because that's not my cup of tea. And as Sugar mentioned, the way how I'm working together with Tableau is we have some partnerships around testing new features, giving them early feedbacks. I'm working with large accounts, including, I don't know, Apple, Netflix, Facebook, just to name a few. And again, we are trying to have them to be successful and at the same time learn a lot from their large deployments. And yeah, so that's how we are trying to ahead of the game. Okay, so what is data catalog and why would it change your life soon? So Tableau is a really great platform. Actually, that's the best platform when you're doing data discovery or visual analytics. And recently, I would say Tableau started to invest more and more into enterprise features, helping large corporations not just be successful with their dashboards and visualization, but also to build a world-class governance model around these contents. So data catalog answers the typical questions. Okay, so I have this dashboard, but what the data is all about? How can you actually catalog not just the visualizations, but also the underlying database tables? How can you know where the columns are used? How can you reach out to your users based uh, on the underlying data sets? Let's say if you have a sales table, how can you, from a particular database, how can you know who are actually using that table inside your platform? And at the same time, it also gives information for the end users. Like if you are looking for a dashboard and you want to know what's the source of that dashboard, without going to opening the dashboard and entering the data sources just on the dashboard, you can understand how the data is transformed, where it's sourced, so it will give additional information which makes the whole analysis more impactful because you will know the full context. And again, that's a new feature. Will be released in 2019.3, which is right now in the beta phase. So if we go one step further, so what exactly the the functionality sets or the functionality groups of this Tableau data catalog feature? Uh, the first thing is to have people to discover data sources. So uh, currently, if you open your Tableau desktop or open your web authoring on Tableau server, you should know your database connections. You know where do you want to connect, or you should go with a published data source. In the future, starting from 2019.3 version, you can also search for data connections like your corporate data warehouse credentials, connections will be there, not just published data sources. Also, you can find what tables are used in your dashboards, and you can connect directly to those tables from desktop without, selecting the table, setting up the connections. I will show, but it will really replace existing external data source where you just, added like what table is located where. Um, you will see all the list of tables. All the metadata for your underlying databases just uh, in the Tableau platform. Another huge gain here is that finally we can do impact analysis and lineage. This will enable data stewards and IT people to understand the impact of particular changes. You can see, hey, if I will change a database column, what dashboards needs to be retested to make sure that that change doesn't break anything. And it also works in a different direction. If you are looking for a particular calculation in your Tableau dashboard, you can easily see what database tables and even database columns are used to build that particular column or a particular object in your Tableau dashboard. And the third big area is providing trust and curation. So views and explorers, users of the server, could really understand the uh, how reliable the data source that they are using. They can see if the data source is curated or not. They can see if there is any data quality issue associated with that particular data source. So let's say if you have a ETL load problem or you have a data quality problem with one of your tables, then you can easily reach out to your end users just on the Tableau server and say that, hey, you can use this data, but there are some problems, there are some warnings without the need to send individual emails to them. And the fourth is also really important that Tableau really a platform. So whenever Tableau builds a new feature, a new capability, for them, APIs are first-class citizens to make sure that Tableau can be really used in the enterprise. Given said that all the metadata, all the lineage information, everything can be read and set by APIs, which will allow third-party application to set up documentation, set up certifications. If your ETL job fails, it can automatically tag the related data sources in Tableau and warn your users just on the website, just on the Tableau server, which is, I think, amazing feature. Okay, so let's dig down and see uh, how can you turn this on. So as I mentioned, this feature is currently in beta. In the next beta, which is 2019.3, this release is obviously will be released this year. If you are already part of the beta program, then you can go and just download it and start using the beta, obviously for non-production usage. But again, within a few months, this will be a reality. One quick disclaimer here that since I'm not a Tableau employee, I cannot comment which features will be included in that release. Usually they add more features than to the beta. Sometimes they don't add but remove features from the beta release. So we don't really know what will be really part of the next release. However, um, I mean the things what I will show, I'm definitely sure that this will be immediately available after the release. However, I'm just not 100% sure because I'm not the product manager. Anyway, so as you see, the metadata services will be a new Tableau service. You have to enable it with TSM. And as long as the services are running on your Tableau server, there will be another checkbox. And every site administrator can turn on the catalog to their individual sites, or you can turn it on by default for all the sites. It's fairly easy, and as long as you are just turn it on, you can start experimenting or experiencing all the features. So let's see how this impact analysis and lineage, how will it help you? I don't know if you ever came across to those questions like, hey, what would happen if I migrate my database or IT migrate my database? So what workbooks and worksheets will be impacted? How can I see what I have to do to, uh, um, to make sure everything will be up and running after the database migration? Also, how can you see what database what Tableau workbooks and views are using a specific database column? What would happen if you change the calculation of that column in your database? What will be impacted? All of these questions will be really hard to answer with the previous versions of Tableau. Um, there was in the Tableau community a lot of ideas around it, a lot of community hacks which were take this information from the workbook XMS, but none of them were just good enough. And Tableau listened to their clients and customers, and that's why we can have this feature. So again, the basic questions: where the data is coming to and from my dashboard, and if there's a data quality, what should I do? What's really the impact? So I'm really a demo-oriented guy, so let me show how this impact analysis and lineage really works in live. So what you can see is Tableau server. It's this famous 2019.3 version. And I don't know if you saw the new Viz Portal UI. Recently, starting from 2019 releases, the Viz Portal and the Tableau look and feel is a little bit different. Tableau always uh, changes the look and feel to make it more modern and more user-friendly. So here, I can I see my Salesforce reports. I can access all of my reports. And what is new here is this external content tab. As long as I click on my external content, I can see immediately what are the databases used by my dashboard. I can see that I have like 3 different databases used by my contents, data sources, prep flows, and workbooks. And I can quickly go into them like, hey, so this is a SQL server. Who is using the bike store database on this particular host? Who are my customers? And as I click here, I can see immediately like what tables are used from that database. Um, are those tables are used by any workbooks or data sheets or the publishers who are leveraging that particular content? And I can always go and drill in like, hey, this is this brands table. Who are using the brands table from that particular database? And as you see, I was able to go here. I can see the columns from that table. I can see what workbooks and sheets are using that column. And I can even go and say, so who is using the brand ID? None of the workbooks or sheets. We're using the brand name field. And I can obviously see that there is one workbook which relies on that database column. I think this is really important. And obviously, I can go and open this sheet from the UI. That's as I mentioned, I'm not really great in building dashboards, so don't judge me. But we were able to find, starting from the new UI, looking for a particular database column, like what are the views and workbooks which are visualizing or using in calculations this particular database column. This not just applicable for workbooks, it works also pretty well with prep flows. So let's say I have this nice prep flow which takes data from two database tables, system users and the users from Postgres, and puts the data into the system users published data source. As you see, all the even the prep flows has a new tab here called lineage, where can I see that, hey, these are the fields loaded by the prep flow. These are the tables loaded by the prep flow, and this is the database where the prep flow is loaded. And it works in a different way. If I'm starting from the data source as well, the system user data sources, it also have this lineage field, so I can see that what are the workbooks and sheets leveraging that that data source was we built by PrepFlow. So this is really an end-to-end lineage and impact analysis. I can not just go and look after the data sources and workbooks and see how they are getting the data. It works pretty well for data prep jobs, like this friendly names is relying on a data source which is loaded by Tableau prep, and we can just go back and see like where the data is actually coming from. So this is pretty much how it works. And again, if I open any dashboard, I can see the lineage all the time, and it makes really easy to understand where this particular dashboard takes its data sets. If we go a little bit further, we can see that this tool can't just only be used for visualizing the different lineage information, but we can also set up data quality warnings, like reaching out users, explaining them that there is something wrong in the process, something that they have to take actions on it. So let me show it first. Let me open this view again and show this new panel here. This called data details, and the data details panel is a new panel built on the data catalog, which gives additional metadata on the view. So basically, we can see what are the fields in this dashboard and what are the data source where it connects. And from here, we can also start drilling down and go back to the source database and go back into the source of data, just right from the dashboard. So I think this is really useful. So you don't have to go and see the workbook details. It's immediately available from the dashboard itself. But it's even more interesting that the same details table can be used to reach out users. So let's say I have some issues with one table in this database. I can go and say that in the brands table, I made some mistake. It happens. So I can set up a quality warning, which will tell to my users that something is wrong. Something is unreliable, that data source. So to reach out these users, the only thing what I have to do is enable warning. Enable warning on a field, on a table, or a database connection, or a data source. So you can put data quality warnings almost everywhere in the system. And every object using that other object, so every workbook relying on the table, column, or database will get this warning information. So let's enable it to show it to you. As you see, we can set up different warning types like deprecated, stale data, under maintenance, and you can also give like a comment to those people, to the end users. So let's do a try, like good afternoon, VizConnect. After I save it, I can see here that we have some warnings. And when I go and browse my contents, I can see this exclamation mark. I can see that there is a warning related to the data source I defined. I can click here and we have this warning message that the branch table in this data source have a warning telling that good afternoon, VizConnect. So this is like a new way to eliminate these large distribution list-based emails saying that, hey, one table, what you actually don't really use has some data quality problems. Here on the dashboard, you can see the warnings and you can be reached out by your administrators, or if you happen to be an administrator, you can reach out to your users. As I mentioned, and I will mention a little bit later, using the REST API, your ETL jobs, your scripts can set warnings automatically and clean things automatically. Given said that you have an ETL jobs which just running late because of database performance problem, your ETL job can log in automatically to Tableau server and set up these warnings, reaching out to users who are notified that they will not have the latest data. So the data might be stale. It will be 1 day older than expected. They can still use the data, but they know that that's the situation. I think it's a really neat feature, and I'm sure that many of my clients are really keen to use it almost immediately. So let's see how can we work together with the metadata. So that was really the lineage and the warning management. But what else can we do with this additional metadata? The first is that you can search for databases and tables as well. So going back to the portal, if I look for my users table or the brand table, like brands table, I can see that there is one data source which has a table like this. And we have also two tables. Oh, that's one data source, one database, and the two tables. Brands is more relevant because it has the name. But if I go to the product, it should also have a brand ID, and that's why even if a column is matching to the search criteria, then with lower importance, but it's also listed. So what can we actually do with this? It's fairly easy. If I want to see all the dashboards using that particular database, like the bike store database, I can quickly search for it and look for the downstream workbooks. If I want to check here, hey, quickly, who are using my accounts table from Salesforce? And it works exactly the same. So these are the sheets where I have my Salesforce account information. And again, everything is integrated with this search. But sometimes you don't just want to search things. Sometimes you want to actually create new stuff because that's what Tableau is all about. So does Tableau help to use this information to create new contents? Absolutely yes. So let me create a new workbook directly from the Tableau server. using web authoring. So just create a new workbook. And now, instead of the old way to define the connection and giving the credentials, I have this new connected data uh, dialog. So what can I do? This is the typical way. These are the data sources published on the server. Nothing interesting here. But if I go to the right and switching from the old to the new, I can see that finally I can connect directly to databases. I can connect to my bike store database, and that's it. I can select the tables I want, just like in Tableau Desktop. I don't have to know what are the host names. Don't need to start everything. Database connections now, first-class citizens of the Tableau world. And this is really just the beginning. So let me close this data source, open this up, and let's go to tables. As you see, it's not working just only with databases. I can connect directly to the tables. Same like this. I want to create a dashboard based on this particular table. I can also search like orders, and that's it. It immediately loads it, and it's ready to uh, be analyzed. So here it is. Will it work in Tableau Desktop? The answer is yes. Can I demo it to you? Unfortunately, I can't. Again, it's a beta program, so nothing is really, uh, you know, working fluently. But let me just show that what can you expect for the future, even if I don't necessarily can demo it. So in the new version, instead of connecting to a server or connecting to this to a file, we will have the search for data, where you will have all the same dialog what I show, where you can connect to connections and tables. Unfortunately, it's not working, but here that will be this new way to connect. So what I just wanted to highlight, that it's not a server-only experience to connect to tables and predefined connections and not just data sources. You can leverage it from your Tableau desktop as well. So this was mostly the UI part. But Tableau, again, is not just for doing the UI, helping the users and the administrators. They also have the developers to really work together with these new data sets. So how can you interact using APIs, the lineage and metadata information? If I click here, there is a query metadata using GraphQL link. And when I'm opening it, I just arrived to this nice UI where I can ask queries using the GraphQL language. GraphQL is basically a similar language to SQL. It's a declarative query language, but it's designed to query hierarchical data which might have recursion in it. Let me show like a very basic query. I want to see all of my workbook names. I want to see the sheets inside the workbooks, and I want to see the data source names inside the sheets. And after I execute the query, this is the JSON what I'm having. I can see the name of the sheet. I can see all the data source fields in it. We can also go and look for workbook table names, column source, or we can also get fields and formulas and applying like filters. So if I want to see the calculations for my forecast sheet programmatically, I can just executed get fields and formulas. And here I am. This is the forecast sheet. These are the data sources, and these are the calculations inside my workbooks. It's really, really, really easy, and we get everything back. I mentioned that GraphQL supports recursiveness, recursive queries, and the reason why is sometimes you need recursion to get the information you're looking for. So if you want to see the full tree, the full hierarchy of a calculated field, like here, this sales is using, so this sales field referenced by these other fields, and those other fields could be also a named calculation referenced by another. So to traverse the whole hierarchy, sometimes you need recursion, because again, this API can tell you, like iterating on all the nested calculations directly back and link them directly back to the underlying data source. So I think this is pretty cool. And again, you can ask, show me this field and list all the reference calculations which are relying on the particular column. REST API. So besides the GraphQL API where you can query the relations, there is another API where you can set certification information. You can set descriptions. You can set certification information. You can set wording. So I don't think I showed it to you, but all these things could have description. So you can add description mark. Right? This is the identifier of category. But obviously, if you have a central metadata store, or if you have another application where you are keeping track all of your data, you can use the REST API to load these descriptions. Same for databases, the tables itself, the columns. You can set descriptions. You can set certification information. You can set data warnings using the REST API. And I know already a couple of metadata tools who are working on the Tableau integration. So if you are leveraging external applications, it's quite possible that when we will upgrade to Tableau server, they will have a connector which will fill these external metadata back to Tableau. And the last thing what I wanted to show that if you are an old-fashioned traditional guy who relies on SQL, then you can still use SQL to query this information from the underlying workgroup database from using the read-only user. So you will have the tables, the databases, the columns, tables inside your repository. So I just made a very quick query looking for databases, tables, and columns used by Tableau, and obviously you can link back them to data sources, flows, or databases. So everything is stored in the Tableau repository database. So you can also use the read-only account and maybe Tableau dashboards and reports to access and visualize the information on it. Again, so Tableau 2019.3 is coming soon. If you want to test it, then using this link, the product's coming soon. You can just join to the pre-release program, so you can download these early versions, early releases, and start testing, and also give feedback to the developers who are really open for any suggestion. Again, so the way how Tableau develops this product is more like a community. They are looking for customer feedbacks, and I know a lot of cases where they made really large changes and changed priorities just to accommodate those great ideas coming from their customers. So I think that's it. That's the feature. So if you have any questions. I really like to try to answer them. I hope it was useful in some ways. So, yeah, that was it.
Thank you, Tamas, for sharing your about Tableau Catalog. So everyone are you can just go ahead and ask your questions. You can use the Q&A tab or you can use the comment tab. Just go ahead, ask your question, and Tamas is happy to take your questions.
If there is any.
So I think, Tamas, I think maybe I can start with one question. So I look after the India market. So we have a lot of customers who are using Tableau over here. So a lot of customers has a question about performance on Tableau server. So they talk about, okay, what are the best practices which they can follow on the Tableau server with respect to performance? Do you want to talk about anything on that? Maybe some quick 3 tips you want to give them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Tableau built a few new Tableau admin dashboards where you can identify the low performing workbooks, the low performing dashboards. So I think every performance tuning starts with the following checklist, the following to-do list. First, you need to understand if the performance problem is related to a set of workbooks or your entire system is having troubles or problems. So for the new the Tableau admin views, you can see and compare the average loading times for all the workbooks in historically, so you can see if your whole system is having issues, or the loading times are getting slower and slower, or it's really just a few dashboards. If the dashboards are slow, then uh, it's uh, it's a manual process. You need to understand if the data sources are slow, and that's something what the you need to work on it, eliminate the custom SQL, reduce the data size. That's workbook optimization. On the other hand, if your system is having problems, then the first thing what you need to check if do you have the necessary um, um, capacity. Are you under or over provisioned? And tools like Tabmon or Polygon tools can help you to understand the CPU memory consumptions. Um, I think it's a really interesting topic that starting from 2018.2, Tableau created a new logging called art logging, where they log each and every CPU and memory usage counter for each and every step in the log. So basically, you can looking for the log files, you can understand what processes, what workbooks, what sessions, what are those things, what are those objects who are slowing down your system. So loading the Tableau log files into a database or analyzing them with Logshark, especially these artlog CPU counters, is uh, is is really important. But again, going back to the big picture, you need to. I think the first step is always to identify if you are having capacity problems or you are having bad workbook design or what's the combination, what's the mix of it. So does the RAM size have an impact on the performance? Absolutely yes. So Tableau is really a memory-heavy application, and there is a memory-based cache called VizQL cache. And if you have more RAM, then it can leverage more cache. So obviously, the bigger is the better. And yeah, it's using a lot of Java containers, so more memory means more performance. Uh, so let me go. What challenges face the upgrading server? Um, I would say that I don't know any particular challenge for upgrading from 2018.1 to 2019.1. These days, the Tableau installations are relatively smooth. Again, having a backup before the upgrade can't really hurt, but I don't know any particular issues on the installations. I saw really large deployment, like more than 12 worker nodes upgraded pretty smoothly. So I don't have any real horror stories what we had in the past when we did the upgrade from pre-TSM to TSM installation. So it's great these days. How do I see the Tableau Catalog feature in comparison to other data catalogs such as Informatica and Azure? So Tableau Data Catalog is really, I would say, one piece of your metadata strategy. Informatica or Azure data catalogs can handle the data catalog for uh, all the all of your infrastructure. So those are, I would say, the bigger components. Those are the central hubs. And these central hubs can be synchronized back and forth with Tableau. So Tableau can give information what's happening inside Tableau to other applications, other enterprise-wide metadata solutions like Alation, just to name one. And in the same time, you can also get the information from Hive stores or other catalogs and load it inside Tableau. So Tableau is only focused on Tableau server itself, but the design is to feed information to other systems if you are using other tools as well, and also gather information from other catalogs. Free tools. Okay, so are you aware any REST APIs that can be used to refresh, regenerate, thumbnail image associated with the views? Actually, I do not. I don't have anything. Sorry for the workbooks. Free tools to troubleshoot Tableau workbooks and dashboards end to end. Again, you can start always with the performance recorder. Um, there are free tools like Logshark if you are on the server, Tabmon, and uh, the log viewer itself. It's also a Tableau log viewer. That's the name of the project, and that's also something where you can visualize the low level, like what's happening, yeah, inside your Tableau workbooks. But again, the first step is always starting with the performance recorder because that's where you see what is taking up time in the rendering. Is there any sample examples available for GraphQL? Uh, I can share a few, but I'm sure when this will be released, this version will be released, and Tableau will give a lot of examples. And also, I'm sure that on the pre-release site, there are a few examples as well. So I'm sure that even if right now publicly not available from the pre-release site, you can get the examples. And again, after this call, I will be happy to share the things what I have. Okay. Can we get extract failure details, running times in Tableau Catalog? No, but that's something what you can get from the Tableau repository. I also know that Tableau is constantly improving their Tableau uh, admin views, and there are already a couple of great views to look for background tasks where you can see the different running times, and this information can be really accessible for other Tableau reports. So you can see. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I have any data on this server, but the background text for extract is a great start there. But here on the cat, especially Matt Coles, who is a Tableau administrator at Tableau, he has additional Tableau views, what you can download from the Tableau community forums. He built a lot of dashboards just to measure and monitor better the extract failures and running times and have aggregated details. So it's you can search for Matt Coles and admin views, and he has a lot of dashboards what you can use in your own environment and get detailed and aggregated information on your extract failures and run times and seeing the trends. All right. So if there is no other question, I would really like to thank you for the opportunity for being here. I really appreciate your invitation. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks a lot, Thomas. So just one last thing, everyone. So we are a data company, so we love your feedback about the session so that we can plan more sessions in the future. So I have just posted the feedback form. Just let us know your feedback, and I think we'll come back with more such sessions soon. Thanks a lot, Thomas. I
Thank
think
you.
it was a
Thank
great
you.
session. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye.
great day and happy weekend. Bye bye.